You joining me today for 10 minutes of morning calm. And today we're continuing to look at this beautiful story of Noah and the ark. The ark comes to a rest. Noah opens a window. And if you're not familiar with this story, just think of it as a story dealing about the floods we face in our lives. And it's been fun, like just continuing to come back to just a few short little passages. And as a I know as a pastor, one of the things I really enjoy about 10 minutes of calm is that we get to kind of just really ruminate on things and in a good way, really turn them over in our heads and think about what God might be trying to tell us. And, from the Christian new church perspective, these words are supposed to be sort of launch points for us to consider for ourselves what this might mean in our lives. We're supposed to take that task on freely and understand that God speaks to all of us. And there's no such thing as the resident expert. That's not the job of a pastor. I don't think that the job of a pastor is to simply walk with people, share some thoughts, and get us into a conversation. So thank you for joining me as part of that conversation today. And it's kind of a fun one, kind of a really fun one looking at today. And what we're taking a look at again is this beautiful line: Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made. And this window opening, we've been talking a lot about that for a couple of days in a row. And the one I was thinking about today, like just I keep the image I keep on having is you're looking out, you start to see the mountaintops appear, then the mountains, then the hills, then the valleys. We start to see life start to appear, and that life was always there. And isn't it interesting, right? That a flood, in a certain sense, when our life feels like we're in a flood, it covers up a life that already exists. It covers up, and I'm talking about life with a capital L here. It covers up these things that really are there. It's just the floodwaters make them impossible to see. Imagine you've had that experience, right, where we just can't see it. We can't see the good stuff. Just can't, for very understandable reasons. And what I wanted to talk about today is this idea, not in my image. As I do in the mornings, as I get ready for this, I go on a long walk, I listen to podcasts, and just try to get some thought in around these things. And today's thought came from a beautiful podcast where somebody was talking about their struggle with addiction, their struggle with alcohol addiction. And what she said was that eventually she got really clear, oh, the world is not in my image. She was battling this very sort of selfish, narcissistic part of herself that really tried to create the world in her image. And it was a pretty sad image, pretty dark image that was colored all by alcoholism. And it's this beautiful part, right? This beautiful part where she realized, like, oh, the world's not in my image. It's actually in God's image. And that's where we surrender. That's where we really understand powerlessness in its most powerful sense. I mean, figure out that paradox, and that's one that spirituality offers again and again. We figure out our powerlessness by understanding God's power. And it's not power sort of like this under our thumb. It's power like this. It's power that lifts us up, not power that presses us down. And it was just, as I was walking today, I was thinking, yeah, and it's kind of like walking through nature. So you go on this walk in this old rails to trails park that's nearby our office here, and I'm walking through it and just realized, like, oh wow, I didn't create any of this that surrounds me. None of it. Not a lick of it. I didn't create that tree. I didn't create that bird. I even got to see a muskrat swimming in the water. That was super cool. I didn't create that muskrat or that blue heron or that kingfisher screeching down, or on occasion even get to see bald eagles, flying down the little creek there. I didn't create any of that. I didn't orchestrate it. None of it. What I'm doing is I'm walking through it. What I can control is my reaction to it. What I can control is how I see it. Do I have the eyes to really see it? And that's part, folks. It's really hard to get language around this. That's part of us to think about today. All lives have floods. Let's just be really square about that. Every single life on this earth, on this planet of all time, faces many floods. And those floods can be so debilitating so much of the time. And as the flood waters rain, and again, like, it's not like God sends the floods to punish us. Floods are just part of life. They're just part of what it is to be human, what it is to be in this life. And as those waters recede and the land starts to appear, we can really get super clear. Oh, God has this. God has this. God has this. God has this. God has all these different parts. He's made this beautiful world that we are inhabiting, and it's made in his image. And oftentimes we get confused and we think the world is actually made in our image. That does not work that often or that terribly well. That can be where self will runs riot. And we believe that self will is what will actually drive everything in life. And that doesn't go that well. My plans are not great, most of the time. And even when they are, even when I do have, good plans, um, God has them in a context that's even greater than what I could imagine. Because it's not like all our ideas are bad ideas, right? Like that's just not true. Many of your ideas that you folks have are great ideas. It's just when we put it in the context of a world that's made in God's image, what it does is it adds even more energy and grace and beauty to those ideas. And it puts them within the context, just as we would put ourselves in this beautiful, beautiful scene of nature. So folks, when you hear that phrase like not in my image, but in yours, God, just I would tell you today, just take a minute, just take a second, get yourself outside, even if it's just for a walk, and just look around and realize all the things that are not in your image, all the things instead that are in God's image. Like this is God at work, not me. It's not about my self will or my selfishness or my self centeredness driving the ship anymore. It's really about surrendering to a God, and a God that's all about love. Um, I was out on Mondays on my day off. I often go out to Lancaster area, and there was this sign out there that was said, you will meet God, and it was sort of this real scolding language, like you will meet God, like you are going to go to the vice principal's office, and he's got a list, and he's going to check it, and just be careful, brother, because you're going to get your what kicked if you don't come clean. And I just don't see God that way. Like God sees you. Yeah, God sees you, but I don't see it as a punitive, like, where you're going to see God. I don't see it as like being sent to the vice principal's office. I see it as something far different. I think it's being sent to the home of a dear friend who wants nothing more than to talk to you about life and what you've learned on the journey and what you've shared and what it's been. And I don't think we can have that if we don't, surrender to the idea that the world is made in God's image. And that's a good thing. That's a really, really beautiful thing. So may you have a day where you can breathe and go, not in my image, but in yours, God. And yeah, see where that takes you today. And think about Noah, think about that window opening, and think about how he sees that whole panorama out there. And he realized he didn't make none of it. He is just there to sit and wonder in gratitude of the beauty of it all. So that's the thought for today, friends. I hope that makes sense. And I'm wishing you all the very best. And what we're going to do now we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks on social media. So with that, friends, we're going to get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dearest friends, let's take a quickie look here at Facebook. Say hi to folks. All right, let me just flip onto this, and I see my battery is about to go. So my apologies if all of a sudden this thing just crashes, but hopefully we won't have a bunch of comments today. All right, so let's take a look. Marcia out there in Colorado, great to have you joining us, my dear friend. Marcus, great as always to see. Give us, Marcus, great to see. And I love your comment there. Floods give us the opportunity to see things unconditionally, because when it washes away, we will remain. Boy, that's a beautiful perspective, Marcus. Patricia, great to see you joining us. Sue writes, good morning. I like the image of the window opening, seeing the whole panorama and realizing the creator is awesome. And it really is like that idea of awe, I think is so big. Susan, really well said. Good morning from Jean. And good morning to you, Jean. Mary writes, a good friend, a beautiful way to sit with God. Beautiful. Linda writes, yes, surrender, especially in times of floods. It's an opportunity to meet God. So much agree with that. Betty writes, I love the vision of visiting with a best friend to talk about our lives. Thank you, Chuck. Have a great day. And it really is like, I mean, come on, God's keeping a list. Like, I don't buy that. At least not as I see. Not as you see it in Jesus. He doesn't talk a lot about that stuff. Yeah. Anyways, that's a whole sermon. Won't get into that. Mandy from out there in Michigan, great to have you joining us too, Mandy. And let's flip on over here to my page, see if there's any comments on there as we race against the clock here. No comments over there on my page. Great. All right. So folks, God bless. Take care. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.